So just like what we did in products, or the list view for products, we're going to do the same thing for categories. So let's go ahead and open up Sublime Text. Inside of products, I'm going to make a new URL file here, and I'm going to call it urls_categories.py. It's only to keep the URLs in the same area for products. So if I go into URLs, I'm going to go ahead and copy this whole thing, bring it into categories, and paste that in here. So this is the URLs. We're going to have this for categories. So we need to make a view for category list view. So inside of our views.py, we're going to import the model of category. And we'll say class category list view is just takes in a list view. We don't need to see anything other than that. So we'll just say model equals to category. And then query set is equal to category.objects.all. And that's all we're going to do. So let's go ahead and import this into our URL categories. Paste this in here. Category list view as view, and then we're going to call it categories. And I'll get rid of all this. All right, so now we have a view for the category list view. Now we need to wrap in the URLs categories into our regular URLs, so our e-commerce URLs. I'm going to go ahead and copy this products one and just call it categories. And URLs categories. There we go. So now if we go into categories here, we have template does not exist. So here I'm going to go back into my view for this one, and that's in views.py. And I'll just say template name is equal to products/product list.html, just to get things a little bit faster. And we have the list. There we go. So we have electronics and accessories. So now we need to create a detail view for each one of these. So come in here and say class category detail view, and it takes in the detail view as an argument, and we'll say model equals to category. Get rid of that, and then if we need reference, we can look at our other detail view. As we notice, it's only one thing here. So that's going to be our category detail view. So let's import this into our URLs for categories. Category detail view. So now I'm going to go ahead and copy this, paste it right below, and here we want to put a slug field. And before we actually enter it in, if you remember back to our guide, we have this slug field, or in the common URL regex or regular expressions, we have this guide for a slug, so we can go ahead and copy that and paste that in here, and we'll call this category detail view as view, and we'll put a trailing slash there, and we're going to call this category detail. All right, so now that we have this, we can actually wrap in and make our get absolute URL inside of our category model. So we'll define get absolute URL self, and we're going to return reverse of category detail, and keyword args slug is equal to self.slug. Of course, none of this is new, but it's something we need to do. Now going back in, if we see this, now if we click on it, it actually can take us to the different categories that we have. So now we need to make a category detail.html. So let's actually make that one. And inside of our template tags, we're going to make a new file here, or template folder, excuse me. We're going to call it category_detail.html. And it's going to extends base.html, block content, in block. And here's something that's nice. If we have object, we've got the object here, so it's going to say the object name. So we can give that an h3 tag. And then below here, we're going to add the products. So we do object.productset.all. And we refresh in here, and it's going to show us the products that are associated to this particular one. So product set being the actual items that are inside of that category. So here, I'm going to make a temp table, so a table class of table. And we're going to close it off. And then inside of this table class, we want to loop through the product set. So for product in object.productSet. In for, I'm actually going to copy this inside part from product list. Just copy this right here. Back into category detail. Change this to being product and product. Cool. So if we save that, refresh in here, we now have the product that is associated to that particular category. And accessories will have it, electronics will have it as well. But please notice that product, the iPhone cover, is inside of electronics as well as accessories, which is nice. So it doesn't show the default, like we're only showing the categories and then the items that are in those categories. It's not necessarily showing all products that have categories somewhat associated to them. So this default right here is literally just for related products. It has nothing to do with the items that are in the category because all we're doing here is getting the category stuff. Notice this related name is only on default. It is not on categories. So that's why product set worked. So inside of our detail list, that's why this right here worked. If there was a related name, it would be slightly different. So to do that, we would just do object.default underscore category, or the related name, whatever the related name is here, and then .all, go back into our projects, and now we can see that iPhone cover is also coming through here. So you might be like, well, that's cool, but maybe we want to change this to where the default category and the product set are coming in no matter what. So they both are definitely coming in. So to do this, we want to update our view function a little bit, and we'll go into our views, and we see here, this is actually what we're going to be updating. And just real quick to think about what I'm talking about exactly, if we go into our models, looking back in the product category, there's a good chance that you could have put a default category but not put it into also categories, right? You might have just put it into the default, but when we list out these products, we should be able to see, or when we list out the categories rather, we should be able to see the products that are in that category no matter what, no matter if they're just in categories or if they're in default. So that's what we're doing here. So all that means is we're updating how our query set's going to come through for our view. So back into our views.py, we're going to define our context variable here. So we're going to actually create a context variable to combine those two things. So we'll do define get context data, and of course it takes in self, args, and keyword args. And then we have to initialize it, so we'll say context equals to super category detail view of self, and then get context data of args and keyword args. And then we're going to, oh, whoops, no colon there. So then we'll say the object, or obj, is equal to self.getObject. So again, the detail view will have an object, so this is actually getting the instance that's coming through. And now we're going to say products is equal to object.productSet.all. So that's the first one. But if we want to default products, we would say that's equal to object.defaultCategory.all. So we need to combine those two. And since they are working with the same model, which is the product model, even though this says default category, it's working with the product model itself, we can actually combine them very easily. I'll call this product set. To combine them, we'll just say products equals to, using parentheses, and product set, and then use a straight line slash there, and then default category. So this actually combines those two query sets. And this only works with query sets of the same class. So if it has the same model here, this will definitely work. And now we'll do context is products, and then finally we'll return context. So in our view now, we're going to go back into our detail, or excuse me, in our template, we're going to say turn this into being products. So it's now going to list out all the products that are associated to any category. We go back and look at this category, and we've got default category is not defined. So let's go back into our URLs and see what's going on here. Or excuse me, our view. Default products is what it is. So call it default products makes more sense. So this should be default products. There we go. So that's combining them correctly. and we refresh in here, key error products. Oops, we need to set that equal to something. All right, so a few different errors here in the get context data, but now we've got those all sorted. And now we see the iPhone cover coming up twice. Now this is what happens sometimes when you combine query sets. So to fix that, we just add .distinct, add this method to the end of it, and that will get rid of that extra one. Because distinct, what it does is it eliminates duplicate items or duplicate instances in this query set that's coming through here, which is really cool. So now we have definitely a way to make sure that whatever we're looking at here is going to show us whether it's a default category or it's in their list of categories, which is really cool and very, very useful for us. So that's it for the category detail view. If you have any questions on this, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.